So I'm picking up my first project car tomorrow. Um, I've never really done this before. I started searching a couple weeks ago. I just had the itch to work on something, and I was thinking about buying a cheap rundown car and flipping it for profit, and that kind of transformed into one day I was looking at Facebook Marketplace and I happened to see some old school Audi, and it kind of got me thinking. I've always been a fan of Audis, as you can see. So I started diving into some of the really old models from the 80s and 90s. And I realized how cool they actually were. And so I started looking around for different models just to see which ones were available. And it's really hard because a lot of them are getting increasingly rare these days. People just didn't take care of them, or they got scrapped because of insurance. But I happened to find a couple different models, and most of them were pretty far away from where I live. I found a Audi 5000 CS Quattro Turbo from 1986. And that is the car I'll be picking up tomorrow. But for a while I was stuck on if I wanted to get that one or if I wanted to get a 1993 Audi S4, which was the UR S4, the first one they ever made. So I guess I made my decision to get the 5000 instead, for one thing, because it was almost half as much money when I considered I would have had to ship the S4 from really far away. And also S4 needed a lot of body work, and I'm not really a body work guy. I was looking for a car that's needed more mechanical work. I can work on engines, I can work on things that require turning wrenches, but body work is more of a skill I don't have. And also determining like if something is beyond repair, I can't really make that decision. I don't have those expertise. But as far as engines go, I can fix an engine. I can fix pretty much anything mechanical as long as I can get the parts for it. So the S4 needed a bumper and it needed a fender, and it had a little bit of rust around it, but it wasn't too bad. But the engine was good, transmission was good, everything. It runs and drives according to the seller. But for the Audi 5000 CS, it doesn't run and drive, although it sounds like the engine has good compression from what I'm hearing from the seller. So for me, that seemed like a better choice because I could fix that, and it was a lot less money. It's pretty much rust-free as well, but it didn't need any body work. The body work looks like it's in perfect shape, besides like the plastic trim starting to wear out and things like that, and the paint's looking a little more. So that's what ultimately led me to decide to get this Audi 5000 CS. And so I had scheduled a U-Haul trailer for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm gonna go pick it up. It's just, about 3 hours away from me. Unless it turns out to be much worse than the owner let on, or if he lied to me and sent me bad information, then I won't get it. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure I'll be coming home with it. So I started thinking about my plans and what I want to do with it. I think ultimately I want to do a full restoration. I want to do a full restoration on it. That would involve, over the period of several months, disassembling everything from the chassis, all the body panels, maybe windows, I'm not sure about windows, suspension, doors, everything in the engine bay would be coming out, interior stuff. I would be stripping the car completely down and repainting it. And I kind of have this vision. I want to do a very popular color actually, but I wanted to paint it the Audi Nogero blue color. And I think it would look fantastic like that. I'm also thinking about changing to aftermarket rims, maybe doing a couple aesthetic touches like changing out the amber headlights for the Euro clear ones. The interior was pretty good. The interior is in really good shape. I think I will be leaving it mostly alone except for the seats, shifter, and maybe the steering wheel. Still on the fence about that. But not much to do in there. The carpet looks great. The dash looks great. Besides that, I gotta figure out what's wrong with the engine. So before I strip the car down, I'm gonna try to diagnose that, see if it's fixable without taking the engine out. And I think mostly it's gonna come down to a fueling issue. But we'll see. There's no way to tell until I get it in my garage and I start diagnosing things. But it sounds like the compression's okay, which means the engine should be fine. Even so, once I get the engine out of the car, I'll be tearing that down as well. And I'll be replacing all the usual stuff, gaskets, any bolts that can't be reused, seals, bearings. It'll be a complete engine rebuild to make sure I get it back running properly. The car has almost 300,000 miles on it, so if I want it to run for a long time, I should probably do a fresh build on it. While I'm in there, I may do some upgrades for power. These cars only came with about 170 horsepower from the factory, and it's pretty easy to make more power, but there's some limitations. I'll have to go with a upgraded fuel system because the Audis from the 80s came with something called a CIS, which is a continuous injection system, it works really well for what they designed it for. But once you get beyond the I call it original power levels of the engine, it's not very easy to keep using that fueling system. So it'll be at its limit. So if I want to upgrade the power, I'm probably going to go full EFI. I'm not really 100% sure what's involved in that yet. It'll probably be some injectors. I think I'll need fuel injectors, coil packs. I'm not sure, maybe it has a crank wheel position sensor. And of course an ECU, because with the EFI you need an ECU. And then it'll need to be tuned, so it's a lot of things. So something I'll think about later a little bit more, but for now, I'll try to get the engine running as is on the stock fuel system. All right, so I'm back. I did end up buying the car on Saturday, and as you can see, it's right here in the background. I bought it on Saturday, drove it back here on a U-Haul trailer, and unloaded it that same night. Haven't done much since I got it because I got sick the next morning. I did look it over. The car has a dead battery, or it had a dead battery. Since then I've charged it up and hooked it back up. And I've also attempted to start the engine, which was a no-go because as soon as I turned the ignition, I heard a pop sound coming from under the dash or under the hood possibly, and all the electric in the car went off. So I must have popped the fuse. I'm gonna look around and see if I can figure out what's going on with that. I already know the engine doesn't run, but I was at least trying to crank it up and see what would happen and try to diagnose what the engine problem actually is. So I'm gonna give a quick tour of the car to show all the flaws in it that I found and all the things that are actually pretty good about it. Okay, so here is the 1986 Audi 5000 CS Quattro Turbo. So the bodywork is really in good shape. Not so much the paint, but the body panels, there's no major dents or rusting anywhere. It does have two minor rust spots. Of course, it's the same spot on both sides. It happens to be this little lower front fender area. Very minor, but I can fix that when I restore the paint anyway. I'll be repainting the whole car, so not really a worry for me. It's missing some of the model lettering, so I'll see if I can pick that up, maybe use somewhere. And tail lights look good. No cracks or anything. Solid. Plastic's in good shape. Open the trunk up. The trunk is in really good shape. It looks very clean in here. Almost brand new. The car actually has the original spare tire, and I'm not even sure if the rubber tire on it was changed. It looks very old. I'm assuming it's the original one from 1986, and it also has the jack with it. So some of the flaws, as I've shown, it did have those rust spots, very minor. Something that really bothers me especially is this plastic trim is just falling apart. It's fading in the sun. It's cracked everywhere. There's pieces of it missing. So I need to find a solution to this because that really bothers me. If I'm restoring the car, I want everything, all the details to look good, and that just looks very bad. It looks old, but that's what you expect from something almost 40 years old. Even some of the plastic around the rubber around the window is starting to go. It's not as bad there though. And it's also this trim around the windshield, same deal. It's falling apart, it's getting old, so I gotta find a solution for that. But nothing too major. The headlight is cracked, so I will need a new driver's side headlight. But then I was tapping on this and I found out it's actually real glass. They don't make headlights like that anymore. These days the headlights are I guess some type of acrylic or I don't know, plexiglass or something. But this is real glass, solid, and that's why it's got this big crack. I'm guessing a rock probably hit it. I'm gonna try to pick up a new one of those. Hopefully it's not too hard. And I want to change these amber turn signals to the European version, which is clear, because I think they look better. This is also kind of chipped, but it's not too bad. The bumper's in perfect shape, just needs a little
restoration of the color. Nothing wrong with it though. This passenger side headlight looks good. These rims are not the original rims. They're from an Audi A4, a later model, but they do fit nicely. I like the way they look. I may possibly hold on to them and powder coat them, make them look fresh and new, or find something else. Although I will say it's very hard to find rims for this car because it's a very unusual size. I think it's mostly an issue with the back fender here because you can see how it was the style in the 80s, but we have this straight cut fender right here. So if the wheel is too big, it's gonna hit that. So it's a very specific wheel size. Couldn't really find many that I actually liked online, but I'll keep looking around. And another minor flaw here. I'm actually just about to order one of these because I found one on eBay, but it's just this one chrome piece. It wraps around and it ends right here on the passenger side. It's missing the rest of the length of it. I guess it broke off right here. Very easy to fix though. And now take a look at the inside. Actually, I'll go in from the driver's side. Something very interesting about this car, even though it's old, the first thing you see when you come in here, it's got power mirror adjustment for the driver and passenger mirrors. It's got power windows. It's got memory seat position. That's amazing. Most modern cars don't even have that. It's got power seat adjustments. It's got this joystick here for forward, backward, up, down. I'm not sure what these other ones do because the battery's been dead. I haven't really played with it yet, but I know the seat does work. I did try this one to move it. And the seat is not in great shape. It's got the seat cover on it right now. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Okay, I think I can't really get it up right now. It looks like the back portion of the seat is pretty good shape, but this part is not. It's falling apart. What I want to do is I wanted to do a reupholstering of the seat because I really like the style of it and I like that it has full power control. So I went and got some quotes for it, and it was upwards of $2,500 all the way up to $5,000 for the entire car, for the 2 front seats and the back bench seat. So not cheap, and I'm thinking I'm not going to pay that because it's just not worth it to me. So I will either buy aftermarket seats to replace it, or I will attempt to DIY reupholster it, which I have never done leather work in my life. So I mean, it's worth a shot if it doesn't cost too much. But basically what I would do is I would take all these leather pieces off here and make a template out of them, and then cut new pieces and sew them together and just try to get them snapped back into the same place as the old one. But you know, besides the leather, I don't like the condition of the foam, so that's a problem too. But the other solution is I could find some of the same seats that are in good condition and try to reupholster those. So I have a couple ideas. For now, I'm not. For now, I'm not focused on that. I gotta focus on getting the car running. But that's how the seats are. The passenger seat, I haven't lifted up the cover yet. It's probably a similar condition. All right. So I'll step inside the car here. The steering wheel looks fantastic, and I really like the style of it. It's very simple, and it matches the rest of the car very well. So I'll probably leave that as is. Everything is pretty good up here. And it's got this really strange shelf. I don't know if you can see it on camera, But it's got a shelf down here underneath the dashboard, which I've never seen in a car. Of course, it's a 5-speed manual. Gear shifts very nicely for a car with 279,000 miles on it. It's got this, now this Quattro version of the car comes with full permanent all-wheel drive that you can lock the front diff and the rear diff, or that might be the center diff actually. I don't know, but I'll have to look into that later. But very advanced. You can lock this into 1 or 2, and it's vacuum actuated, so you can switch it on and off. I think number 1 you can drive normally with, but number 2 you can only use for if you're driving in the snow. Otherwise you'll wreck the all-wheel drive system because the wheels will be they won't have enough slip. Car's got climate control. You can set it warmer or colder. It's got a cassette player here, and a lot of the stuff I'm really not sure what it is. I have to read the manual. This I have no idea. It says computer. Maybe that's for your trip counter or miles per gallon or something. I don't know. You can hear my voice right now. I'm still getting over being sick. So we got this e-brake here, little console, and then opened up the glove box, and we have all of the original manuals and paperwork for the car. So that was very interesting and very nostalgic when I saw all of this. It's in great condition too. It looks like it's never been touched before. It's got the user manual, some strange documents, and a map of Germany in here. I guess if you're thinking of taking a tour of Germany after you get the car. It has a sunroof. I think it is missing a piece here, so I will have to look into that. But I was told by the owner it opens and closes, so it works. I haven't had a chance to try it since the battery's been dead and then I blew the fuse, but I will try when I get that back. So I'll go around the back seat now. By the way, I love the way these doors close. Very satisfying. So I lifted the seat up so I could access the battery. So the seat bottom is laying upright here. The battery is over here. The back seats really don't look bad. There's a couple little tears up here. Headrests are tearing at the seams because of the age. But these would be pretty easy to reupholster, I think, considering the condition. And then we got this middle console that folds out, and something weird, I didn't know what it was when I first saw it, but later found out through reading, is it has a sleeping bag built into the car. You can roll this thing out and I guess sleep in it. I don't think I'm gonna do that because it seems kind of gross. But I guess if you're stranded in your car and it's cold outside, it might be nice to have. So I think that's everything I wanted to show. Oh, of course, the engine bay, actually. Can't forget that. So the engine bay looks pretty clean. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a full teardown of the engine, rebuilding it, changing all the bearings and seals and whatnot. I'm sure I'm hoping it doesn't have any major mechanical issues. The way the owner described it, it seems like the engine has compression. It just wouldn't turn over all the way. It wouldn't start up. But when I tried to crank the engine the first time, I think it blew a fuse. So I'm gonna have to get to the bottom of that. I'm thinking it's the starter. Maybe the starter is seized up and it caused too much current, and blew the fuse. I don't even know what fuse it is. So once I get that solved, then I'll continue trying to diagnose what's wrong with the motor. So this is the turbo version. You can't see it here, but this is the intake manifold, and then the turbo is underneath there. Everything looks in good condition. I don't see major rusted out stuff, just slight surface rust on the iron block, which is going to be, I'll clean that off with some, I don't even know what type of cleaner you would use for that, but I'll get the surface rust off, and then I'll repaint it with some POR 15. I've had success with that in the past. It's good paint for engine blocks. But yeah, everything looks good. I checked the coolant level. The coolant level's good. Power steering's good. Brake fluid's good. I might have to change something with the fueling to get it running. That's the only part I might run into issues with.